A very warm welcome to another episode of 5 Unscripted. My name is Yonaka Theledi. I'm the news presenter for 5 Weekend Afternoons with Gia B. And today I've got a very awesome guest who goes by the name of Pat Mahlangu. He is the CEO of not only Pat on Brands, but also the Lerato agency, a 2-year-old company now. Very exciting conversation we're about to have. How are you today? I'm very excited to be here and hello to your viewers and listeners.
Yes.
So happy to be here.
Yeah, I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
I forgot one thing.
Yeah.
I'm now the co-founder of Circulate.
I love it. I mean, we just keep building.
It's a new platform that we've just built, and that's about to take the marketplace by storm.
Absolutely gorgeous. Tell us a bit more about Circulated, maybe before we get into all the other stuff. I want to go into the talks about YOBA and what it was like being Mr. Yoba for a couple of months, I guess, because it was so much months of preparation for the awards. But let's start with Circulated.
Yeah, so Circulated is an online marketplace for bartering. So say you've got products or services that you want to exchange, but you don't have cash to pay for. So you can circulate, for example, say your makeup artistry for an iPhone, for example. So, you go into our platform, you register and say, I'm a makeup artist and I'm interested in an iPhone 7, for example, or any iPhone rather. And there's someone who's out there actually looking for a makeup artist and they've got an iPhone. So
it's an exchange.
It's an exchange. Ultimately, yes. So there's products exchanging hands in that way. There's no cash involved, so you can use the platform for absolutely for free. So the only thing that you need to do is to go to circulated.online and register there.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. I didn't ever think we would go back to bartering. You know, I think
it's exactly what it is.
I don't think we'd ever go back to bartering, like exchanging goods for other goods. Aren't you afraid of maybe like the fact that money is so big now and everyone is more into using a certain currency, either it's a kind of online currency, whatever the currency is. Aren't you afraid that maybe this might end up losing touch with the people?
Not entirely. So there's two things that inspired the idea. People don't have enough cash in their pockets. However, they've got products that are sitting around in their houses, that they're not using, that they can actually use them to gain something valuable to them. So that's one. Two, the environment. We can't keep on producing new things every day and every year, which ends up harming the environment. So what about circulating the products that you already have for the ones that we want and sort of cut down the carbon emissions and all the environmental impact that producing new products have?
I think that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome, because I think sustaining the economy is also one of the most important things that we could do, not only to secure the space that we're going to be living in, but kind of our allowances for what we want to do in the future, stuff that we want to create, innovation and things like that. But speaking of the future, I'm of a huge belief that the youth is the future, because I think we're building the world for youth.
It's not the youth is not the future.
Yes.
It's the now.
Oh, yes. Yes, the youth, the present.
It's the present. We are here now as young people, creating stuff, building platforms, building brands, that are actively contributing to our economy. So the future is it's not the future. The people that are saying the future, the youth is the future, are those that do not want to empower the youth now. They're actually robbing us our future, if you think about it. A country that does not invest in its youth is actually sabotaging its future. That's my view.
I think your sentiments are absolutely mind-blowing, because that is kind of what we end up being taught, is that the youth is the future. We're doing this for your tomorrow, but not for our today.
If you think about it, if we were doing things for the future, ESCOM wouldn't be where it is today.
Exactly.
If you think about it, because they'll be preserving their infrastructure for future generations.
Sustainable energy should be the now at this point. We're looking at kind of the evolution of transportation, where we're going with, for instance, the Tesla, stuff like that. But in South Africa, that model wouldn't work necessarily because of the issues we have with our power supplier. And if you change that to something a little more sustainable, definitely something that we could all go for.
I mean, talking about Tesla, actually, there's a very interesting business by another amazing young person, Fezile Dlamini, who's the founder of Green Scooter. Exactly.
Yes.
And they're already working on a solution for a fully solar-powered EV. It's, again, young people taking matters in their own hands and seeing that, look, this thing of saying our time is coming.
It's not the one.
It's not the one.
Our time is now.
Our time is now. And if we don't use our energy, because also remember, the older you get, the less energy, less appetite you'll have for taking risks. By the time you have kids, you're already thinking about their future now.
Exactly.
You're no longer thinking about yourself. But really, by giving young people just the environment, allow young people to do what they want to do and do it well. And of course, you can have some regulation, here and there, but allow young people to lead.
Absolutely gorgeous. Now, in your initiative this year, you've done something I would call groundbreaking by starting the initiative for the Youth-Owned Brand Awards.
Yes.
Also known as the YOBAs. Where you basically give recognition, and you guys go by the motto, real recognizes real.
Absolutely.
You are recognizing and giving, just kudos to all these youth-owned brands in South Africa that are doing awesome. I saw the categories.
Yes.
I could not believe it. I think you've thought everything very much well off because of the homeware section, the footwear section, the fact that apparel and accessories are two separate categories. I think everything about the awards kind of is still very much in tune with the youth. Let's talk about some of the winners. You already started speaking about Green Scooter, for instance.
Yeah.
Another particular winner is the media award winner. Well done. I must say I was the proudest of that one because I'm a huge fan of the podcast.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Can I tell you something? Interesting fact around that winner, which we'll shortly mention. So remember, the process was that the public gets to nominate their favorite youth-owned brands, right? So they got nominated. Then they were shortlisted. Thereafter, there was voting again by the public. And they got an overwhelming number of votes, right? But again, because of the controversy that surrounds the platform oftentimes, so now the judges are like,
controversy.
Some of the judges, are like, no, this cannot be, But then again, they're now asking me and say, Pat, so do you want to affiliate with the platform and what it stands for and whatnot? I'm like, no. The public. This is what the
people want.
Exactly.
Give them what they want. I love it.
We cannot now say change the rules because we feel like a particular winner. That's why also our auditors, because we made sure that we protect ourselves and the integrity of the platform. So we made use of Kumalo and Mabuya chartered accountants to audit the whole process, the results, and the judging session. So that tomorrow you won't come back to us and be like, but why did those ones win? So we made sure that we our due diligence was done correctly. We followed process. We followed all the procedure that we set out. But Podcast and Chill is the platform.
Yes.
It's a very exciting time. I think in media, the disruptive nature of it. And really, I think at the core of building a brand is really pushing against the norm. Otherwise, you're not going to stand out. How are you going to stand out if you're just going to be another, tell us about where you come from, where did you grow up, blah, blah, blah. And thank you for making the time. No. So sometimes you need to, ask.
Be a little different.
Yeah, and also don't be controversial for the sake of controversial, but also to educate. Ask questions that are like, actually, I never thought of that. It would be interesting to know. Type of thing, and I think that's what they're doing. And in my view, at some point, I mean, I read a lot of stories of people that are sort of successful, in that are now sort of in their 40s, 50s. Yes. And if you listen to some of the things that they did in their youth, it's like crazy. And you see it,
right?
Some of them, you see it with emerging entrepreneurs. Like, you have to be crazy.
You have to do some things out of the box.
Absolutely.
Now, I want us to talk about risk taking, especially as it pertains to students that are now considering potentially dropping out of school and starting a business, because it's kind of what everyone is doing. There's a huge influx of young entrepreneurs coming up in the space. And I think as a person that is wanting to stay in the workforce, you think about, is this market getting saturated? Yeah. Does everyone now suddenly have a clothing brand? Everyone is selling hoodies. Yeah. You get worried about those kinds of things. And I just want to know, in your opinion, rather, do you think it's kind of important that students think about those things, think about taking risks, and potentially, if school is not for them, because it's not for everyone, dropping out as an option to pursue entrepreneurship and other avenues?
Personally, I wouldn't encourage any young person to drop out of school unless, you're studying at Harvard and your mother is a hotshot lawyer. No. And your father is a hotshot lawyer and your mom sits at the board of a very large corporation in the industry that you'd like to play in.
Yay.
Because remember, a lot of people look at Bill Gates and be like, Bill Gates is a university dropout.
Exactly.
Mark Zuckerberg is a university dropout. But where did they drop out? In Harvard.
It's different levels.
You know who gets to go to Harvard?
Exactly.
It's not an average Joe. You have to have a certain high level of IQ for you to be accepted. That's number one. Number two, if your dad is a hotshot lawyer, well respected in your community or in your country or city, it means you have access to his networks, business networks, that is. If your mom sits at the board of IBM,
exactly,
it means they can connect you with some of the top computer geeks
that
around.
You need to boost you and boost whatever it is that you're doing.
So people a lot of young people look at these stories and be like, it's always best to just drop everything and just go. Number one, most of us, we are actually first generation graduates in our family. I'm going to speak for myself. I was first in my family to graduate from university. And I have to go on and challenge that, to break that norm or status quo and do my honors and do my masters. And now I'm waiting for the right opportunity to do my PhD and really, set my family name up in that fashion.
I can relate.
Exactly. So there's a lot of us that grew up in the village. The only time, mainly, I'm going to speak for myself as well. I think the only time I had good quality education in my life, like proper and everything works, was at university. I did science and chemistry in high school, but I never set foot in a lab. And I was expected to pass.
Yeah.
We had like pit toilets at school.
Whoa. You talk about the disparity between, I think, where your school is situated, geographic position in terms of what our schools are like nowadays and what is expected. I remember having a conversation with some older people, and they were talking about how in the olden days it was kind of always compulsory for people to do sports in school. Absolutely. And to keep active and do extracurricular activities, whereas now it's almost kind of an option for youngsters, and in whether you want to do a music program or this, that, and the fourth, it's always an option. Can you speak to me a little bit about that importance again in getting involved as a young person, either in charitable kind of causes, getting involved in building that CV, so to speak, from the get-go, from the onset, how important that was for you?
I think it's very important. And I always say, had I had the opportunity to do water polo at school, I was going to do it. Had I had the opportunity to play rugby, I probably would have done it, but we only had 2 sporting codes in my school.
Whoa.
We only had soccer and netball, and we didn't want to be that guy
exactly.
on the netball court. But that's the reality. But it's very important that you involve yourself outside of your academics, even when you get to varsity. So when I got to varsity, I think at some point I joined like 3 societies, student society bodies. I was part of PMF, I was part of Unectors, I was part of the community engagement at university, where we did some charitable work, cleaning up the streets or going to charity organizations. I led, I was a class rep at some point, and I made it to the chairperson of our residence student town. I was really involved just outside of my academics, although I knew that the primary reason why I'm at varsity is for me to get my qualification. But then again, through the other bodies, you are able to build your network and expand, your name. I mean, when I became Pat Mahlangu, a lot of people will tell you it was when I took a very bold stance, and I think it's in my nature to always challenge the norm. When I actually ran for SRC, to be in the SRC as an independent candidate.
Wow.
In a university, on a campus that has about 27,000 students, and I put my hand up and be like, I think I'm ready to lead.
Wow.
Although I didn't win, but I did beat some of the political structures that were there. I got the second most highest votes. After the ANC Youth League. I beat DASO, the DA student organization. I beat what is the other one? I think IFP also had their student body. But that's where I actually created a name for myself by just, also again challenging the norm and saying, look, I'm not going to form I'm not a politician. I encourage every young person to be involved, in every aspect of society. If you see people cleaning up on your streets, join them one day. Some of the things that are sort of some of the big events or the people that I met, in my life were people that have become sort of more impactful is people that I met through these charitable acts, where I was cleaning somewhere, where I was, volunteering my services, where I was a promoter, at Cresta Shopping Center.
Exactly.
And I met this guy, and who really sort of changed how I view life, and who also became a valuable network of mine in my career today. So you meet people in some of the strangest places. So I always say to every young person that gets the opportunity to go to varsity, don't just go there with just the mindset of getting a qualification, but go out there to say, I'm going to develop myself as a person, because the environment allows for that. If you want to join a hockey club or hockey society, you can.
Exactly.
If you want to play chess, you can. There's so many sporting codes and so many opportunities. If you want to travel abroad, you can. My first trip overseas was me being a part of an exchange program with a university in Germany. It was because the environment allows for that. That's why I'm an advocate for young people, particularly those that grow up in the villages, in rural areas, to actually go to university, because it just opens up your world.
Fully.
It opens up your world in a way that you cannot begin to imagine. All of a sudden, you're in the same class with a minister's kid.
Exactly.
All my life in the village, I was only in class with black kids. Now, I've got colored, white, and Indian, Chinese kids in my class.
Yes.
And that means, that diversity also helps in your development and how you look at the world. The types of questions I ask in class versus the white kids.
They're different.
Yes. And also sometimes you can tell when people study for a specific purpose. We just consume or absorb the theory.
Yes.
They already thinking how I am going to apply this in my work. And those are some of the fundamental differences that we have.
Yeah, I think when you speak especially about varsity and how it kind of started teaching you how to apply the theory you started learning from your secondary school stages, I think specifically...
Interesting you said secondary, because my team, they say, when I say I went to a secondary school, like, what?
No, it's like primary, secondary, tertiary. There's levels.
You're approaching it from that level, but they're like, we went to high school.
What's a secondary school?
Exactly. And mine was worse because it was senior secondary school.
There's a junior secondary school as well.
Exactly.
Of course, no.
Yeah.
But yes, I was just saying, in light of you speaking about the fact that, you learn how to apply these theories that you learn as well when you're in varsity. I wanna expand a little bit on that, on what it means to start applying, what it means to start practicing, and more so in a sense that now we're looking at the entrepreneur in you, to apply some of the things that you tell yourself on a self-care level, on a personal level. How do you keep up? Because they're so adamant on telling us that entrepreneurs' work days are 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Like, what are some of those disciplines that you need to get into, the way the head of an entrepreneur would work in applying some of those things that like, I'm not going to sleep today and I'm going to keep pushing and I'm going to keep pushing. That application, what does that look like?
It's really difficult. I must say, because even with myself, I find it hard to switch off. My mind is constantly working. Right now, I'm running like 3-4 businesses, so to say. If I'm not thinking about the one, I'm thinking about the other. So it's really hard to separate. My weekends, I'm working. I'm either meeting someone, I'm either working on a proposal, and it's really, I think, at the core of it, if you're a real entrepreneur, rest is for the dead.
Hectic. Yes.
And I know some activists and some mental health activists would be like, yo, Pat, that's a very
controversial thing to say.
Controversial thing to say. Because the other thing is that even if you wish to stop, your passion and your fire just doesn't die. It just wants you to do more. The ideas, you'll be just watching something and be like,
exactly,
there's my idea.
Exactly.
I'm going to, like, whenever I watch something, whether it's a movie, it's like I learn. I use that time to learn. My mind is constantly working.
Everything that you consume.
Exactly, everything that I consume is like, how's it gonna help me in my business? How's it gonna help us win that pitch? How's it gonna help us improve our offering? How's it going to help us or help me in how I present my ideas to my potential clients and investors? So those are some of the things that as an entrepreneur I can't stay away from. That's why, like, the passion it's burning inside.
It keeps burning, yes.
And if you try to suffocate it, you'll be suffocating yourself because it's not you.
Exactly.
So a lot of people, make this misconception that to be an entrepreneur, obviously you'll be in control of your time and you'll be not doing much work. Most of the time you'll be on the beach somewhere.
That's not the reality.
That's not the reality. And sometimes I try to switch off. I'm on Instagram, say just browsing, the casually,
yes.
Just relaxing. Then a DM is a youngster asking me for mentorship. Is a youngster asking me
how can you switch off?
Exactly. How can they better their offering? How can they better sell? It's really difficult to switch off. But some of the best ideas that I come up with is when I think my escape is going to the gym and exercising and just doing my run, because also physical health is very important, and I think it does go hand in hand with your mental health. So if you look after your body really well, you exercise, you eat healthy, it'll benefit you in the long run. So
yes.
So I think the biggest thing is for me is just eating healthy and just exercising. That's the time I call it downtime, and of course I try to get that 6 hours of sleep.
Yes.
Although it's very difficult. And I remember when we were organizing the Youth Owned Brands Awards, I try to say I need to sleep 6 hours at least. But I'll find myself, up at 2 a.m. And the next thing I'm on my laptop.
And doing things,
yes. And doing things. Did I die from that?
No.
And I think we should... there's no substitute for hard work.
For sure.
And I think that's what most young people need to get. And as much as, yes, it's good to look after your health and mental health and whatnot, but the people that are succeeding right now are those that are going an extra mile.
That extra mile.
The world rewards those that work hard. There's no other ways around it. And working hard looks like this. If you don't understand something or if you don't know of anything, you spend time researching. You ask questions. You fully apply yourself, If you're having difficulties with raising funds, for example, you go ask people that have done it before. You constantly want to improve and do better. My team loves and hates me in most times, and I'm very much aware, because in many cases, some of the projects that we embark on, we doing it for the first time.
Wow.
The YOBAs, it was the first time.
The first time. The first of its kind, in fact.
Exactly, the first of its kind, and the first time I worked on awards. The only thing I did that was close to awards was just judging them. So now to put together an entire
show, it's a different story. It's a different ball game.
If you think maybe there's just one of those, there's a podium and there's just one person.
No, you're mistaken.
Go to YouTube, type Top 16 Youth Owned Brands Awards. There's a full show that you can watch and see the production that we put out. And that's just the things that people would see. Yeah. Not the behind the scenes.
Of course.
Work.
How many hours of work actually went on to giving the product to the people. Now, you speak about like watching what you eat and the content that you consume and consuming.
Yeah.
We have many times as Gen Z or the youth been known as the instant gratification generation. The generation that is looking for instant approval now. Yeah. Everything must happen now. Yeah. I'm starting a business. It must work out now. Yeah. I'm going to varsity. I must finish now. Yeah. Everything must happen now. Because we're so used to everything being so accessible at the click of a button. Is there anything wrong with feeling that your time is now?
There's nothing wrong. And I think the true nature of young people, and I think it varies across different generations, is that we all want it now. In all honesty, if you ask many entrepreneurs or many successful businessmen, ask them like, ideally, at what age did you want to become? Did you want to be a millionaire, for example? They want to say, I think I should have been a millionaire by 21,
exactly,
or 18, or whatever. But reality always brings about a different story, right? So there isn't anything wrong with wanting whatever you want now, but there is everything wrong in wanting it all now and not willing to put in the work.
There needs to be a correlation.
Absolutely. But then again, also reality has it that it's impossible to get everything now. For example, even if you start a business, before you start commercializing it or before it becomes, it's a process. You can start up with an idea today and be like, yo, this idea is worth millions. I tell you, it's great. And you speak to your friends and your family, like, yo, dope idea. But then again, you're going to need resources to bring it to life. And that might take a bit of time. You need relationships.
Exactly.
And that takes up time to build.
Yes.
So all of these things that you're going to need to get to the ultimate goal take up time. So hence a little bit of patience actually does go a long way.
Yes.
And I always say entrepreneurship is about enjoying and loving the journey than the destination itself.
Listen, I couldn't have said it better myself, because there's no journey I'm dreading more than ever jumping into than entrepreneurship.
Because otherwise you'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, the first pitch you're going to make to an investor or whoever,
no.
The answer is no. They'll tell you, go back to the drawing board. That is the reality. And that's how life works. So I guess at the end of the day, the choice is yours, whether you're going to want to be a popcorn. And some people are lucky, by the way. But also we don't know the environment that they operate in. That's what creates the luck.
Sometimes
Mark Zuckerberg was able to be this successful because the environment that he was in allowed for that.
Exactly.
I mean, he had investors, he had like professors, in his advisory committee advising him in terms of how to fine-tune Facebook and make it the monster that it is today. It wasn't by chance.
Wow.
He had proper people investing time, investing money, to make him the business, to get him to where he is today. So it doesn't happen by chance.
Exactly.
So you need to, if you want to be successful, then start by maybe doing an environmental scanning and auditing and see, is it really conducive?
Is it going to happen for me? Yeah.
Absolutely. Is it going to, who do I know right now if I need a 50K loan?
Now.
Right now.
Who
can I call?
Sure. You start thinking in your head like, who can I call?
Who can I call? It happened with me with the YOBAs. Yes, we got some of the sponsors, but remember when you get a sponsor, you don't get the money now.
Exactly.
I mean, some of the sponsors pay 60 days. That's their payment terms. And you've got a show
that's happening
that's
now.
happening, and where are you going to get the money? Yes, the bank is not your friend as well. And I've got a thing against banks and the interest rates that they charge us. It's always best to borrow money from friends and family. That's not interest bearing.
I can't agree with that one though. No.
If you have good friends and family,
yes,
it does go a long way.
Sure.
But the reality is that who do you have right now that you can call? What resources? What money you've got in the bank to buy maybe that additional piece of equipment that will take your content production to the next level, for example.
Yes.
So you don't have. So it's best to say, I'm going to enjoy grafting. And I know, yes, I want to be a millionaire. I want to be successful. But it will take time. If I'm lucky, if the stars align, it might happen tomorrow. If they don't, it might happen 10 years later. Or it might not even happen the way I envision it to be, because that's also life. And I still need to be comfortable with myself. So if you're going to define yourself also based on your achievements or external accomplishments, you're not going to enjoy
fulfilled,
life.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You're not going to feel fulfilled.
And also, like you spoke about, the instant nature of like things like social media and whatnot.
Yes.
Like right now, it could be grafting, like working really hard, and you go on Instagram and you see your peers buying a brand new car.
Peer pressure.
Exactly. And you start hating your life right there and then. But that's simply because you're not content with who you are and you're not in tune with the direction that you're supposed to be going. And yeah, you just end up falling for everything that comes your way.
Wow. Before we wrap up, I just want us to talk a little bit more about the dialogues, especially as it pertains to networking, the people that you speak on the dialogues are serious people.
Absolutely.
And I can only imagine how difficult it is to get those kinds of people in studio. It's time to do the podcast now. I want to ask you how you made all that money. I want to ask how you did all that. Like just all of that in general. Talk us through how the transition from the dialogues became, the POB podcast and having your co-host on there, what it's like being with Mpumi. Just the whole process, because we love podcasts. The youth loves podcasts.
Yeah.
This is kind of broadcasting elevated. It's like broadcasting elevated anytime, anywhere, all the time.
Yeah.
So talk us through what POB podcast is all about and how difficult it can be sometimes to get the guests that you do and what it means to have those conversations and for the youth to hear them.
Yeah, so I mean, the POP podcast, really at the core of it, is about answering or finding answers to burning questions about marketing and entrepreneurship. Right. So what we always try to do, my co-host and I, is that we bring in people that are obviously more knowledgeable about the subject matter. For example, a burning question could be, why are legal fees so expensive? For example, because we all know that many entrepreneurs find it hard to afford, a lawyer, good lawyer, and we bring in a legal expert to help us answer that question. And by the time an episode ends, you already know why, and also you already know about, I'd say, more efficient ways, to approach lawyers. I mean, many big firms, for example, have are mandated to do like pro bono, to provide pro bono services, but most people wouldn't know that. So at the core of it is just finding answers to burning questions, like what does it take to build a great brand? Then we bring in an expert in the field. In terms of challenges of getting people on the platform, I think obviously time is a big thing, and I think the higher you go, you realize that actually time is an asset, and so it is for the people that you want on your particular platform. So they're busy, they're attending board meetings, they're doing this, they're married,
exactly.
They've got families, they've got a lot of things going on for them, and time is always a challenge. But then again, also reputation. Your reputation as a medium or as a platform is also key, so that people want to make time and affiliate and associate with being on your platform. So those are some of the things, but it takes time. Again, it goes back to building relationships. A lot of obviously these top people, for example, they want to know who else has been on that platform who's on my level. It's crazy, right?
Yes.
They're like, oh, so if we had so and so who's my peer, then it means there's something to
exactly
that, so with me, with the dialogues, and funny story is that I think 2 weeks ago I had lunch with a friend of mine about how I sort of grew in the marketing and comms industry, and he was like to me, actually you entered the industry via back doors. I'm like, what do you
sneaky vibes?
Yeah, like sneaky vibes. I'm like, what do you mean? Because a lot of times is that you obviously graduate from university, you get a job either at a big agency, you work there, you craft for some years,
exactly.
Then you move around roles, but you become so acquainted.
Yes, and you work your way up the career ladder.
Exactly, you work your way up, and if one day you want to start your own thing, already you've got this big pool of network.
Exactly.
I never had any of that. Literally, the longest I've worked in a proper agency was 3 months, and that was it. But I knew people who knew people.
I know someone who knows someone.
Exactly.
Who knows someone.
and that really helped. There's a lady I have to give credit to, Kosi Makubane. When I started the dialogues, actually she's the one that inspired me to say, look, Pat, actually you can do this thing. There's no platform that brings in captains of industry and young people under one roof.
Wow.
And have an exchange of ideas. And I'm like, damn, that's a dope idea. But I'm like, I don't know these big people. She was like, don't worry, I know them. I've got their numbers.
Yes.
I'm like, yo. I mean, the first ever Patron Brands dialogue we hosted, we had the CMO of Liberty Group,
massive,
Mr. Tabang Ramokasa. Yes. Absolute jam. Then you also had Musa Kalenga, and it was like, so Musa is like, I think he's 5 years older than me, but he's done really well for himself in the marketing space. And it was, then I had Tabang, who's like an OG.
Exactly.
And some of the stories that also come out, like we hosted the dialogue at Simulhong Precinct, and I didn't know that actually it used to be a club.
Hectic.
Where Simulhong is today.
Wow.
I forgot the name, but it used to be like a club. And Musa was sharing a story of how they were launching a condom brand and they were just throwing money in the air and there was just condoms everywhere.
The drama.
Tawang also sharing his story as I think he was the marketing manager for Sprite at some point. Some of the things that they did in that particular space, and you're like, damn, and that's what it is, just one, having people that know people, and two, also having something of value to offer, and also if people can see that what you're doing actually is helping other people.
Yes,
having an impact. You're bringing in young people together with these. So I realized also in my journeys that the people that have accomplished now, all they care about is impact, and most of them, it's not only about making more money or getting more titles, but it's about how do I live the world a better place than I found it. Who are the young people that have potential that I can mentor, that I can share my experiences with, so they at that level. So sometimes it's easy to get them to give off time and come to the platform.
Oh, absolutely amazing conversation. I've had a blast. Thank you.
I'm glad you did. I was in a boring guest.
No, you weren't. I love talking about what it means for the youth to contribute to the economy, what it means for the youth to get up and do things, all those other behind the scenes kind of concerns we end up not having. Because I actually had a conversation. There's no manual on adulting. There's no manual on entrepreneurship either. Yes, you have entrepreneurs that write about their experience and what they did, but it ultimately takes walking that path alone as your own entrepreneur to get there.
And our journeys are different.
Exactly.
Everyone's journey is different. How are you going to succeed versus how I'm going to succeed? Worlds apart,
Very much so.
I think it's time to go now.
It's time. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of 5 Unscripted. I am Yonaka Theledi, a news presenter for 5 weekend afternoons. I'll catch you there every Saturday and Sunday from 2 p.m. till 5 p.m. giving you the news. And then, of course, this was Pat Mahlangu, CEO of not only Pat on Brands, not only the Lerato agency, Circulated as well, and something else that might be
I'm not
brewing.
the CEO, I'm the co-founder.
I love it. Co-founder. I love it. Gorgeous. Thank you so much for joining us. And just remember to keep having these kinds of conversations as the youth, to keep empowering each other, keep inspiring one another, and just spreading all the knowledge out there. Have a great one.
Yeah, I can't do no small talk. No small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.